Welcome to the Melanin Jelly Project Conversations, a podcast that celebrates diversity and representation in children's storytelling, entertainment, and edutainment. I am the host, Olunosen Louisa Ivaze. On this podcast, I chat with authors and creators of children's books, entertainment, and edutainment. This is also a collaboration with the Ottawa Black Book Club. Yes. So welcome, Maryam F. Maryam is an illustrator. I came across your work when I interviewed another author about Georgia's Faraway
Family.
Yes, Georgia's Faraway Family. I fell in love with the style of drawing and I wanted to know who the illustrator was. I said, who is this artist? And I'm so happy that we finally had time to chat today, because there's been a lot of clashes in our availability. I'm available today, you're not available today, so all of that.
Thank you so much for being so kind about that. Like, made it so much easier for me. Georgia and her Faraway Family, which has been published in French as well, was one of the books I enjoyed so much working on. Honestly, the story was something that was near to my heart because of the same situation I was in, because like I said, I'm originally from Iran. I spent some time growing up in France and then going back to Iran and now back again to some other country in Canada. So obviously all over the world we can say we have families, friends, and it was so near to my heart that drawing it was somehow personal to me as well.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed it actually. And Mary Robert is one of the nicest and most genius writers I've worked with.
Yeah, I enjoyed interviewing her, and when I said to her, I would like to chat with your illustrator, can you reach out to her and ask if she'd be interested in coming on my show? And when she said, yes, you were, I said, yes. So tell me about yourself and what inspired you to become an illustrator. Yeah, start from your school, your experience. Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so I studied biomechanical engineering, very related to illustration. And then, and my job right now is broadcast designer, which means I create like those digital designs that you see on the shows, like the daily shows when you turn on the TV. Whatever you see digitally, that's my job. So basically it has nothing to do with illustration. But what I always liked, and the thing that always made me somehow more passionate about whatever I'm doing, is to create that in some sort of illustration, creating some sort of narrative for it. So the best way to do that is creating children books, illustrating children books. Actually, I've never wrote my own book so far, hopefully someday. And what I did was, before all of that, when I was still studying biomechanical engineering, I decided that, okay, since I love so much creating these designs, I'm gonna create like this page. I'm gonna be vulnerable. I wanna post anything I create and just put it out there for everyone to see. Whether they like it or not, it just makes me think that, okay, I have this platform and I can use it for growth. I can use it for giving good feedbacks and sometimes bad feedbacks. And what happened is that people did feel empathize with everything that I was putting up there, even though they were all childlike illustrations. It felt like people do enjoy imagining themselves in those illustrations. So I started that, and then step by step it grew, and I started my job after a while posting on that platform on Instagram, and then people would come in and say, okay, we want to design a book and we need someone to create it. And at the start it was okay, I had a job, so obviously it was, I don't do this for the money, so I spent more and more time learning. And that was where I was, I guess, lucky. That was when I didn't need the money, but I wanted to spend my time doing what I was passionate about. And then someday it became what made my life out of it. Like, it made money from Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So talk us through your illustration process. So let's say a client reaches out to you and says, "Oh, hi, Maryam, I have this book. I would like you to illustrate." Does the story affect does it affect your illustration style?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Depending on like what the story is about. Actually, what I try is to be selective about the books that I try to work on, because obviously time is very limited. And what I do is I try to work on stories that try to aim a specific kind of people, not a story that's just, I love creative stories, I love adventure stories, those are perfect, but I'm not saying that those are not better than these. I'm just saying I really like to create something that puts some people out there, their vulnerability, in a way that everyone can empathize with it. Something like what Mary did with her Georgia's book, or another book that I worked on a few years back. It was named The Plum Tree, which is about this girl who's blind, and she tries to find a way to help her plum tree, to see the world, even though she is the one that's blind. So what I was trying to create with this one was to have that whimsical side of the children illustrations. Whilst what I was trying to do with Georgia was to create this character who maybe everyone could somehow see themselves in. So the whimsical part was a bit out of that place. But for the other one, you have to use a bit of whimsical side so that you can show how a blind girl can see the world. And obviously, sometimes she sees it much more prettier than what we see. So in the book, we can see that. So the way that it goes style-wise is depending on the story and the narrative. But how I work, like in the side of like the creation, like the process, I usually, it depends on the time that I'm given. Okay. Which is very important for all illustrators to know that this is my budget time-wise. If I have a lot of time, perfect. I can spend time, I can create a lot of thumbnails, I can show them to the other, just make sure that's the right thing. But if I don't have that much time, what would that happen? Should I sacrifice quality? Should I sacrifice my characters? Or should I just not sacrifice anything and go with a easier style? So for example, I know that Roald Dahl, I know that you know him, everybody does. Quentin Blake, what he did was very fast drawings, but perfectly narrated and very much like created from every single illustration is created from start, if you know what I mean. Like it's created, it's beyond 100%. Like, but it's not on. If you show it to an adult, someone that's kind of lost their link to their childhood, they're like, it's easy, I can do this. So if you are a good illustration, as someone who has a lot of practice, you can decide to go with some style like that if you know how to create your own style, obviously, since you have less time. But then there are other styles, like let's say the way that Uderzo would work on Asterix. You see, each single one of these frames are hand drawn, and every single one of these are created from scratch. So, and this is a very huge series of books. So all of this depends to me on the time that you're given and the time that you can spend on it. So no, not sacrificing the quality, but sacrificing maybe the details and trying to find ways of telling the narrative without drawing too much. So this is how I try to find it at the start of the project.
Okay. And what would be the typical duration of time you need to finish a book? So let's say a typical children's book is 32 pages, pushing it 40 pages. So like a 32-page book with 12 spreads.
Mm-hmm.
How long will that take you?
Narrative is important as well, the story, but let's say, because we don't want to spend forever on a book, even though I really would love to. Like, when you start a project, it's so hard to stop it. Like, it's so hard to just not keep doing it and like adding details. But you have to put a deadline for yourself. If the project from the scratch is something that doesn't need a lot of detail, it's not mentioned that it needs a lot of detail, I'm guessing a whole of like 2-3 months would be a good, like ideally a good timeline, because you're going to have to spend time with the author, you're going to have to spend time with the first draft, the second draft. You want it to be perfect, you don't want to rush anything. But most of the time when I get someone to, like when I get a client, they're like, we need this in 1 month, we need this in, I don't know, we need this tomorrow or whatever. So that's when you have to decide for yourself if you want to put yourself in that timeline, which is something I really did sometimes, and I'm not regretting it. Each experience was worth their own like time that I spent on them. But I'm not as proud as I might be of one certain project that I was on, that one that I spent like, I don't know, a week designing it, because I did not find the time. And I was not as smart as I am right now because of the experience to know that now I don't have to sacrifice the style. I just have to sacrifice the details. So the outcome is not good. So I would say 2-3 months is ideal, but if it's more detailed in the story, obviously more would be needed.
Okay, so when you get approached by a client, does the client have to tell you the kind of characters they have in mind, or you think of a character and then you tell the author, this is what I think? Or do you go back and forth and agree? Because when I reach out to illustrators, what I do is I always tell them of the character. I'll give you an example. So this is my children's series. So, and I decided to get illustrators from Nigeria because I'm working, it's a series talking about the continent of Africa. So I needed somebody who understood, like if I say to you, draw me a Nigerian market, it's like saying, draw me a market in Iran. There are things you would know that other authors, if I was going to ask a Canadian author to draw me a market, they would not be very different. Yes, you wouldn't yet. People making her sitting on the floor on a mat, the woman carrying her baby, all of this, right? It wouldn't, So when I was thinking of my character and trying to build that character, I wanted something children could relate to, because I had a doll made. So I said, I want this girl in a yellow jumpsuit, and then her twin brother, and then the dog. So when you are developing characters, do you have to agree with the author, or you decide to develop a character? Like Georgia had red hair. Yeah, she had red hair. So was that a decision you made, or the decision the author made? So who makes the decisions on
what I always like to listen a lot to at the start is whatever the author has in mind. Like, I'm pretty sure when she's writing or he's writing the book, obviously they have something in their mind, imagining that person. I really need to hear that first, because that's how the story is going to be complete. And otherwise, it's like someone else wrote a story, someone else is designing it, and then it becomes a book. It's not that. The process is someone writes a story and gets help from someone else to create that visual that they have in their mind. So I really need them to tell me what they imagined. And then what I do is I start doing either drafts or talking with them about, okay, let's say this character of yours, let's say it's your daughter, and your daughter has like blonde hair, and this story is about a girl who's like been all around the world and has family all around the world, I could go with it. And everything in the book, it has like this nice light vibe. So obviously there's going to be a lot of light vibe and not much bold color. Do you want to go with some other colors so that it's not specifically for your daughter, or do you want it to be specifically for your daughter? This is an example. This is not something that happened, but like obviously I need to know if they want it materialized the same way that they imagined it, or the way that would work best for the book or work best for the market. So what I do after listening to them is I create drafts. I send them, okay, this is what I came up with. Do you kind of like it or not? Usually people ask you to create some stuff and give some like examples, so you can start from that, because I don't start the story. I start with characters and the color and palettes and everything. But then sometimes there's something more specific in the mind of the author, and what I ask is just open Pinterest, open Google, search for keywords that you use in your book, search for things that you have in your mind that you think would look good, even books that you've read before, even characters, and send me screenshots of those. I can look at 1,000 screenshots and not do a single copy if I'm smart enough about it, and just know what's going on in your brain and create something based on that. So that's usually how I try to spend more time at the start, so I don't go all over the way and then realize this is not exactly what they want.
Okay, so what is one thing, because I'm just looking at the questions I sent you. So what is one thing you wish authors knew before reaching out to illustrators? And I will tell you why I'm asking this question. I belong to a lot of author groups on Facebook. And one time, an author had come there and said, oh, I'm trying to get my book illustrated. My budget is $500. So I'm thinking of paying maybe $10 a page. And then an illustrator went under and said, that is an insult. For you to pay for somebody's sweat, somebody's talent, somebody's skill, somebody's time. So what is one thing? Because if a big publisher was approaching you, they have that big budget. But me as a self-published author, remember that I have to pay you to do that. I have to market the book. And many times we work with limited budgets. So what is one thing you wish authors, self-published authors knew before, or what would you like them to know before approaching illustrators? Like if I was going to approach you now to say, oh, Maryam, I have this work I would like you to do. What would you like me to know in regards to how much I'm going to pay you, how much time you're going to need, how to communicate with you and all of that? What would you like me to know before that?
If I want to answer with my own experience on this, is that because like I said, when I started for just my own passion, but I can understand that some people are making like their life, like they're making their life with illustrating, so they would need that money to live out of it. So what I'm thinking is, this is a bit cliche, but you get what's like you get the worth of what you pay usually, but there's something very smart in knowing who and how and when to do this. Like let's say if you're asking an illustrator that's expecting a lot, and you're asking them to do something for each page with like budget of 500, and then obviously you want it in a like reasonable timeline, not for whenever you can. That's not going to be working. But let's say we strategize and say, okay, I have this book, I really want this illustrator to work on my book. What if I ask them to do the cover? What if I ask them to give me characters? What if I ask them to create a picture for each like a part of the book, and then I could pay them reasonably and they could create something the quality that I wanted. Again, if you want it to be a children's book and you want every page, every spread to be designed, you could go with like you said, some people are like very offended with the price. I never take offense on anything. Like, it's not about being offended. No one has time to spend on, am I offended or not? No, if you want to work on something, you do. If you don't, you don't. You can, like you said, in Facebook pages, groups, you can say, okay, this is my budget. This is the style I want to work. Is there anyone who's going to be okay to do this for me? And then the people who are coming forward can be the people that you're going to employ. So you can interview with them, spend a bit more time. So I was saying that if you don't have the budget that you need, you could spend more time.
Okay.
You have to sacrifice something. Now, more time spending, what does it mean? It means you create that post. You say, this is my budget, this is my book, this is whatever. And then you see, okay, these are like the 20 people who said, we are going to do this for you. Some said in 2 months, some said in 1 day. I would say the one that said in one day, you just know that from scratch, it's going to be something either very bad or either copied or using AI. So AI is already a big problem. You don't want.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about AI.
So what will happen is, if you spend the time to look all of those people in detail and just spend a bit more time in other pages, you're going to find people who are very, very passionate about designing, who are at the start of their jobs, and they are willing to be working for less money because they want to do it. And then obviously those people are going to gather experience, and someday they're going to be the ones that are being paid much more. So this is kind of like paying your dues as a writer and as an illustrator as well.
Okay. Yeah. So what would you say would be a good price to charge? Because like me, why I use illustrators in Nigeria is, apart from the fact that they can give me what I want, I feel that it's also affordable for me at this point in time, because I'm not an established children's writer. I don't have that huge budget. So when I look at the conversion rate and all of that, I go, okay, this will work better with my budget.
So that's understandable. That's not a very happy thought, because if only it was like the balance would exist everywhere, but we're not living in that perfect world. So what you're saying, I hear it 100%. And honestly, even after working for so many years on children's books, I'm still having problems giving the price every time that I'm creating a book, because when you listen to a story and then you meet the author, you already have that connection, and you want to make that in the best form possible. Let's say you have the vision for that book, but the price that you're giving is not in the budget of that author. That's, sorry for my language, that sucks for both of us. So what we should do is to try to find that balance point. You asked me, okay, what is the good price? I could never tell it, because some people are truly charging, I don't know, less than $10 a page back in Iran or Nigeria, and their work are much better than
because of the conversion rate.
Because of the conversion rate.
Yeah.
So let's say, to me, what makes more sense is for someone who doesn't have a manager, what do we say,
an agent.
An agent. For someone who doesn't have an agent, I never had an agent so far, because I've been always working at the same time on my daily jobs. But for someone who does have that, it's perfect, good for them. But if you don't, imagine yourself as in a job that's like a day job, and imagine how much you would be paid for that job, and then convert that to the time that you're spending on the book. Let's say you're having a wage of like $25. If you're charging someone for 3 months worth of work, look at how much you put in that book as well, how much of your soul you put in that page as well, because their work is not the same as illustrating. I don't want to put them in the same, because illustrating can be something you put all your soul into it, and then for 6 months you need that soul to be refreshed. That's sometimes the case. So you decide for yourself how much it is worth, those 3 months of your life. And then if the author is okay, go for it. If they're not okay, I know it's hard to say, sometimes it's not a choice, but wait, better clients are going to come your way. Like they always say, if you have 10 like small budgets, you give 10 low quality product. But if you have one big budget, you get one big good quality. So you're going to find that after a while, going back and forth with like the projects. So hopefully it's going to get easier for everyone who's in that state.
So if somebody wanted to become an illustrator, what are some what advice can you give that person? I wanted to become an illustrator. Like, let me see. So I can let me take my pen now.
Mm-hmm.
So because as a child, I used to do comics. I used to do a lot of comics for friends. But through the years, I just want to get a pen. So through the years, I just realized that, you know what, this is taking a lot, and I don't really draw anymore. But I know that with illustrations, there are styles. So it's always easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to draw somebody's profile now. So let me take this sheet and sketch something and say, okay, because now I know people use Procreate. Okay.
In iPad.
Okay, good. So if I was going to say, let me sketch somebody now, let me quickly do that and say, okay, I was sketching a profile. Let's see this. Okay. Lips. Eyes. Let's see. Ears. Hold on. Okay. Okay, good. So, and then I sketched this.
Nice.
Good. So if I decided now that, yes, now I can sketch this, and you see how quickly I did this, good. And I decided, okay, you know what? I think I can be an illustrator. What are some tips you can give me?
Okay. To answer this, I'm not even needing someone to be able to draw something for becoming an illustrator. You need to have the vision, the narrative of the design. Like, if you want to be an illustrator, you have to know, okay, I've been given this text, or I have this text in my mind. Okay, today I went, I don't know, to the mall and something happened to me. What do I envision when I'm trying to tell that story? And then I have, okay, there was this man, this old lady was falling, and they like catched her, and he was the hero of the day. How can I imagine that in design? And then I think, okay, if I wanted to be the illustrator, how would I create that? What I would always suggest is, you could even create that using, I don't know, like bottle caps, putting like around each other and taking a picture and moving those and saying, okay, this is the old man. And then at the end of the day, you have just some circles, but they're telling you a narrative, and you're an illustrator suddenly. As long as whatever you create gives the narrative, you're the illustrator. Now you decide on how to create those in the style that you prefer. If your style is this like minimal style of colors and like collage, or I don't know, just pieces of paper, that's still an illustration. Now you want to create illustrations in a specific style. What you would do is just search for them. Look at the books that have those styles. Look as much as you can in fortunately we have like the internet nowadays. Look as much as you can into them. If you're starting to work on your illustration style, as an illustrator, I'm even okay for you to copy my work. Just do whatever makes you work on what you want to be, and then someday, even if I oblige you to create my own work, you're not going to be able to do it, because you're not going to be copying, you're going to be creating your own style. So as much as you want, as much as you can, just look at other people's work, try to recreate the stories that are in your mind the easiest way possible, and step by step you're going to get there. And someday you're going to be creating something that you don't even imagine that you had it in you, because you're always looking at, oh, look at this girl, I want to create something like that. And then someday you create something that I'm going to be thinking, wow, because it's different, it's original.
Yeah, because I'm looking at styles. I have a couple of, so I'm looking at your style. I just finished chatting with this author now, this author illustrator. This is her style. Yeah. This, let me see. Where are my other books? Let's see. Where's this other book? Okay. Back to this one also again. And this is, because this book is talking about African hair. And this is this author's style for this. And there's your style. I actually like your style. Your style is very unique, it's whimsical, it's calming. It's very calming. You know, that's what I saw. That was the first thing, because I just went, I like it, I love it. I looked at how you did the book, the envelopes in the beginning. One of my favorite photos is, I don't know if you have that book with you now, Georgia's family, where she was in the aeroplane and where they were flying. Yes, this is one of my favorites. Yes, one of my favorites. So how did you develop your style? How did you find your style of drawing? Or do you do other styles? Do you have any other work you can show us? Like the one of that girl, the blind girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where is that author? Yes, where is that author?
The author is, her name is DJALI'S. She's somewhere in USA. I've never met her actually. I created this one when I was still back in Iran, and I've never met her. Like you said, each story has their own style. And for this one, trying to have a background of a bit darker background meant like the fact that she's not seeing like the way that we see, but then having everything in somehow with a light or a sweep of a bit of light makes it a bit whimsical, because it's the relation between a tree and a girl who's not seeing. So I'm not going to tell you the story, because I really want people to read it for the first time themselves, The Plum Tree. Yeah, it's gorgeous. But like you said, I have different styles, and it's not something that's like, it shouldn't be the same way for everyone. Some people have one style and they stick to it and it's perfect, and I love it. And actually sometimes in my process, I've been so jealous of people who have their own style and they know what they're doing in life. And I thought, oh my God, I'm doing whatever I want, someday this, someday that. But then I realized that's actually what makes me me. So I'm good with having that, even though sometimes I still think, okay, this style needs so much progress to get to what I want. But it's okay. And what I'm saying to every illustrator is just don't push it. Just, you're going to find it. Even if you don't, just use it in different projects, because now you have the asset of using the style that's easier for you on a project that has less time.
Okay.
Just use it.
Okay, so what do you think about AI? Because so for some things I'm working on, because sometimes I have crazy ideas. And I write mainly for adults, and I started writing for children because I couldn't finish my adult novels. I didn't have the inspiration, and I went, Louisa, try something different. So I said, okay, let me try children's books. So it took me time to actually figure out how to write for children, because I thought that the way you write for adults is the way you write for children. But even at that, I'm still getting better. And then I had this idea that, oh, what would it look like? You know, how would it feel? Let me see if I can share my screen and show you. How would it feel to write a book about an African Rapunzel? So I was thinking of, let me see, can you see me?
I can still, yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking of writing about an African Rapunzel. And I had reached out to this illustrator and said, oh, let me see, give me a sketch Anyway, he was affordable. I was very happy that it was cheap. And you said something, you get what you pay for. And when he sent me his work, I draw better than he does. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I draw better than he does. So I went on to AI because I had asked the previous author, I had asked about AI. She's not a fan of AI because she said it's taking away jobs from people, right? Yeah, in the end, that is what it's going to be. So I decided to play with AI yesterday. Can you see my screen? Okay, let me show you. Beautiful. So I thought, so my goal then was, I wanted an African Rapunzel, like with albinism, let's say so it gave me this. So it gave me this in 3D. I decided on a different style. It gave me this, which is more human. Then I thought of characters. Okay, my other book I'm working on, let's see, a boy on the beach or some sort of, let me show you this other one. It gave me this, a boy running with his kites. See? Mm-hmm. So it gave me all of this. Look, this for me is amazing. Mm-hmm. I decided to play around. It gave me these. You see?
You know why it is so gorgeous?
Why?
Because they're using a big amount of data stolen from a lot of great artists.
Oh, stolen.
So that is how it makes it amazing. Obviously, they're using these geniuses, work of art of a lifetime, and they're putting it together and creating things that are absolutely copies of other people's works. So like you said, am I pro AI or con? Obviously, AI is not what I'm rooting for at all. Okay. And what I'm saying right now, what I could just say that's like maybe just to be a bit less harsh on AI, I could say I love seeing what you need to create with your book. So why not you showing me, okay, I did this, I like this. Now I have a vision of what you like. Now I can create my own version of what you want, but without you stealing the work of so many other people. I'm not even sure they're going to be happy with that because obviously it's their works. They can obviously be mad at it, even for being used as inspiration.
Because it's what I checked initially before looking into AI, I had Googled to say, okay, is it okay to use AI in children's books? Would there be any copyright? Nothing. You can use it. That's what it said. But my question there is, can I use the same character? What are the chances of having the same character in each page doing what I want? So that is going to be a bit tricky. That's what I think.
Now maybe, obviously, very soon you're going to see that like incorporated in it very easier. Like you can just say, okay, this is my book, first page, second page, third page, and you create it in 5 minutes. But there's two problems. The copyright, even though they say that there's no issue, is still under process because obviously they are stealing the data of other artists. And the second problem is, let's say another author comes in and says, I want the same thing with an Iranian, a Middle Eastern background of Rapunzel, and then they give you the exact same book, but like with a bit of difference. And then suddenly, after a while, you see there's no originality in anything anymore. There's a lot of great books, like high quality, perfectly designed books that are no original at all. Because after a while, everybody's going to be so perfect, so great because of AI. And then you see that, no, it's totally the same. It's just like a lot of the same creations that are coming from a not original source. For now, I'm not very happy with it, although using it as inspiration to me, like I said, even if someone wanted to copy my work to learn something, I would be more than happy with that. But like copying to create something, I don't like. So now if you give me that like inspiration board and say, this is what I came up with AI, can you create something of your own? I would be more than happy to do it. And I hope other illustrators too. But we're not living in a perfect world. I know people who just create with AI and take your money and just say that's my work. And when will you know? Who knows?
Yeah, because someone said to me that he's trying to write, when he got to know that I'm a writer, he said to me, "Oh, I'm working on a children's series." I said, "Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah, but I'm going to write the stories with AI." And I went, "You're going to write the stories with AI? Then there's no authenticity. You are not writing from your heart."
No.
Yeah, you're not writing from your heart.
And that's something I'm hoping people are going to realize very soon. Even though, like, there's a wave of AI, and there's going to be worse and worse, obviously, especially for other fields like medicine, like engineering. But what I'm saying is that the human part of things, the arts, the literature, those should not be so much dependent on AI. Those were created because they were human. They cannot be uncreated with something that's not human. So all I'm saying is, after a while, people are going to realize that's not what they want for themselves to read or the children to read, hopefully.
Okay.
Take some time.
That makes a lot of sense, because yeah, I know that a lot of artists will not be fans of AI. So are you working on, are there any illustrators or artists that inspire your work?
Very much. So many. I grew up with reading the Asterix series.
Asterix, okay, I did that.
Yeah, I grew up with these. I loved Uderzo. I grew up with Roald Dahl. I loved Quentin Blake. I could show you like a bunch of like illustrators that I really love, that are like, their works are obviously works of art, and like they created the path to illustration.
Okay.
And they're all so different. But what I'm saying is that I get inspired with every single one of these. And when I say you're going to find your own style, that's what I mean. My style does not have anything to do with anything that I showed you. But after a while, looking at this, watching the other one, trying to recreate an Asterix that is not looking like this, trying to recreate myself using like just circles or just triangles, and then after a while you see that your own style comes very organically to you. So yeah, and nowadays if you just search with a tag in Instagram, illustrations or children illustrations, you can find many talented artists that are like more than I can name.
Oh, okay. So are you working on anything new?
Right now, I'm actually working on not working on the illustration part. I've been working on a story plot that I had for years, like for this plot about not families, like children that have different languages in their lives, because of my own experience. Because when I grew up in Iran and then I went to France for a while when I was growing, I did not have that like asset of knowing French, so I could not talk with anyone. I was not like, it was easy to communicate because I was a child, but then there was this barrier. So I was thinking, if a child does not know what means another language, how would that end up for a lot of children who are placed suddenly in a space that have different languages in it? So I was thinking of this story for a while, and now that like I said, I'm working in broadcasting on my day job, I'm trying to find the perfect time to finally materialize that story and hopefully design it myself. So wish me luck.
Okay. And what do you hope to see for your work? What future do you hope to see for your illustrations?
I'm not saying a lot of different things than other people's. All I'm saying is that as long as someone empathize with it, as long as someone sees themselves with it, like even if it's one person, that's good enough.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that I'm enjoying designing it, and that's my passion. So I don't want much out of it.
Okay, that's great. I just want to say a very big thank you.
Thank you.
To chat with me today. So thank you so much, Maryam. Have a lovely Saturday.
Same. It was so nice meeting you. Hopefully,
Nice
I meet
meeting you too.
again.
Hope we get to work together someday. Thank you so much.
you.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.